Okay, fam, welcome back. So today we're going to be going over the YieldMax ETFs and the Mag 7 as well as the crypto stocks. So with that being said, let's get it. Okay, so I'm going to start with Apple here. Pretty quick to note, you guys can basically see Apple is overbought. Okay, we hit the overbought here. Last time this happened, we had a sell-off. We also have a potential MACD death cross here. We are pretty overextended from this flip zone. We only tested once, and we're kind of stuck within this triangle. So if I was going to get into Apple based on this, I would just DCA in. I would not be putting a lot up here at these levels. Again, the support down here from 195 to 200, and then the all-time high up here at 236. It is above the EMAs, so technically the trend is bullish. Okay, higher highs, higher lows. But again, if I was looking to DCA into some kind of either APLY or the AAPY, the Curve Invest ETF, I'd be waiting for a pullback in price on these. That's just my opinion. From a swing trade perspective, it does look good. So 20% gain here. If I was going to swing trade this, I'd either wait for a pullback. I probably would have got in here on this pullback to support and the EMAs, or I'd wait for a breakout of this trend line. Okay, so AIPI. This thing is still in a downtrend. Again, we're waiting to see the break of this downtrend. Otherwise, it's mostly just chopping sideways, kind of here at the support. In terms of buying the underlying stock, I'd say this is a good deal. Again, you could DCA into the AI YieldMax ETF, but as long as this thing is staying sideways and it's paying out dividends, likely the price is just going to go down. So this one, the YieldMax ETF, personally, I would stay away from this one. That's just me. But the underlying stock has some opportunities. So 23 to 28, and then you have roughly about 34 to 39, and then the swing high up here at 49. Again, once this thing does get closed above the EMAs and we get a breakout above this trend line, that is a good swing trade opportunity right there. So 36% to roughly about 70%. ARK ETF, once again, I do think this one's going to get a lot more support as the Fed continues to cut rates. This is a rate-sensitive stock, or ETF in this case. So we're kind of in this rising, broadening wedge here. That's typically a bearish pattern, but once again, we are creating higher highs and higher lows here. So I would not discount this actually going up. There is a small probability of that. So support here, roughly about 37 to 39. 54 to 49 resistance there, and then 68 to 78 above that. Personally speaking, I think that this one potentially actually has, I'm a little bit more bullish on this one than the C3 AI. It's not that I'm not bullish on C3 AI, it's just this chart kind of looks like crap, if I'm being completely honest, from a dividend investing perspective. So from this pullback area here up to this resistance 41%, and then as much as 104%. So I suppose another way you could do this is you could go with the options. Again, I'm not sure if they have options here, so let's check. I know that the ARK Innovation Fund only pays dividends like once a year or something like that. So this is actually a good way to get more passive income if this is something you really desire to hold long term. You could do this instead of the OARK ETF. Again, I don't think there's anything wrong with the OARK. We have it. It's just this is another way to make money. So pretty good money. I mean, $41 every 10 days is about $120 a month. So that's an option if you guys want to do that. Okay, Amazon. So it appears we're getting a breakout above this zone. Again, we kind of have been chopping all over the place in this zone, up, down, and all around. So we had a huge sell-off here during the flash crash, kind of July, August timeframe, and then a nice V-shaped recovery. I mean, it looks pretty bullish. I think likely this thing's just going to break out and go higher. Again, we're not above those highs yet, but I'm pretty confident we're going to be. I'm pretty bullish on AMZ and Amazon. So 171 to 190, and then the all-time high up there at 200. Again, nice round number. Usually is what traders will look at to get out of these things. If there is a pullback here, you'd be looking at potentially as much as 11, 12%. But considering the fact that we're going into bullish seasonality in Q4, I think the likelihood that there is a pullback is probably pretty small. So 18% move here. And I'm aware of the whole antitrust thing going on with some of these tech companies right now. Amazon had that, that old beat up story a long time ago. So I wouldn't be worried about that either from Amazon's perspective. So RSI Golden Cross, MACD about to get a Golden Cross on Disney. This is very bullish for the stock. Again, you guys can kind of translate this to the ETFs, the dividend ETFs, however you want. So potential double bottom here. Again, this is a multi-year, decade-long support, so it is likely to hold. That support zone is anywhere from 78 to 87, and then you have 113 to 120, and you're looking at roughly about 147 to 153. I'd say it's pretty bullish. I mean, if we get a pullback to the top of support, the move here is as much as 37%. Again, pretty much any of these you can do options on for options premiums if you want it. Disney, I'd say I'm pretty bullish on. It hasn't actually played out bullishly yet, but it's, if I was looking at this as a position trader, I would say, oh, this zone is perfect to get in at. I mean, the upside here is absolutely monstrous from that zone. So, as much as 75%. Again, Disney at one point was valued at $200 a share. So just to get back to all-time highs would be a 2x. Okay, Google. I'm aware of the whole antitrust thing going on with this. To be honest, I'm not really so concerned about it. I mean, I can tell you guys right now that what I am seeing here is a potential W pattern. Okay, that's a very bullish pattern. Generally speaking, you would look for the inverse for a bearish pattern, an M pattern, but that's not what this is. This is a W pattern. And once we get back above this trend line, that should theoretically probably skyrocket the price of the stock pretty quick. So we did have a flip zone here, so resistance and support. That's generally bullish. And we had an oversold signal here. This only shows up on the daily though, as you guys know. So pretty bullish on this one. I mean, again, if you're worried about this thing pulling back again because the whole antitrust thing, then maybe just DCA in or wait to get into this zone or another zone, whatever you're comfortable with. So 145 to 152. The all-time high up here, 192. So pretty good risk reward. Again, just from the current price to the all-time high, roughly about 18%. And then let's say from that wick down there to the all-time high, roughly about 30% move. Okay, JPM, once again, very bullish on bank stocks or finance stocks and REITs because generally speaking, REITs and bank stocks or any financial anything like, I think it's called XLF if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. So XLF, yeah, so something like XLF would be also potentially a good buy as the Fed cuts rates because it's very bullish for the banks. I mean, usually the banks, it makes it harder for them to lend when borrowing is expensive. So when the Fed cuts rates, it becomes cheaper for the banks to lend. You can see why this would go up. So generally speaking, this thing is basically more or less pretty much in a channel. I mean, yeah, that pretty much looks like a channel to me. So it is a bearish pattern, but again, it's still going up. We haven't had a confirmed move one way or another. It's kind of sitting at support. So I'd say this one's pretty bullish. 200 to 206, and then the all-time high up here at 225. So again, if you're nervous about this, maybe wait for a pullback of some kind. That's entirely up to you. So 7% from the current price. And from that support zone up there, 12.5%. Some people like to use these dividend-paying stocks like JPM and Disney, and I'm trying to think of what else, Apple, Microsoft, with options. So they'll do the wheel strategy on these dividend growth stocks as kind of a double dividend strategy is what I've heard it called, which is kind of smart. I mean, if you're going to, why not? So Meta, this thing is in a bullish breakout. I mean, again, this is a huge potential bull flag or just kind of a channel, whatever you want to call it, but it's slowly making higher highs and higher lows. So I would have expected a breakout. It is above the EMAs too. Now we have a golden cross on the MACD on the weekly time frame. That's very bullish. Okay, last time we had one was 9 months ago, and you guys can see what the result was. This thing absolutely exploded. So I would say I would be very, very bullish on this one, maybe even potentially wait for a pullback or not. It's entirely up to you. So pullback just to this line here, roughly about 8%. Do I think it's going to pull back? Probably not. I mean, we just got the golden cross, so I think it is actually going to go higher. But anyways, the buy zone down here would be roughly about 440 to 530, so pretty wide area there. Microsoft, it's hard to be bearish on Microsoft. I mean, they literally do software for just about anything you can think of. So we have a curling up of the MACD EMAs here that's very bullish. So the EMAs, the price is above it. We just got to get back above this trend line right here. As you can see, this used to be support. It's now resistance. So we're kind of stuck in between those two zones. It could just squeeze and pop straight to the upside in between the EMAs and this trend line. I mean, a potential buy area could be at 400. You see a lot of kind of candle lows down there. So if that's where you're looking for a potential buy area, that could be the magic number right there. If not, then right around 350 to 370. All-time high at roughly about 470. So if there is some kind of pullback to 400, be looking at roughly about 17% and then pull back to this kind of green area. Again, this is a larger pullback. I don't think that's going to happen. The white line, yes, but this green box, probably not. Roughly about 34% move. Moderna, this thing is just disgusting. I don't know why this is still selling off. It's kind of crazy. We literally had 2 oversold signals in the last year on the weekly time frame. That's insane. Okay. Again, if I just pop down here to the daily, you guys can see just how disgusting this is. So the good news, I suppose, here is we do actually have some bullish divergence. So, and it does appear that we have earnings coming up. Not sure how that's going to go, but based on the technicals, I would say the earnings probably, regardless of the earnings, this thing's probably going to go up. And again, we're kind of just sitting at this multi-year support here. It has not broken this support for almost 5 years now. So this is basically an asymmetrical bet, in my opinion. So 61 to 94 as support here. Then you have kind of that swing high 167 and then 180 to 210 all the way up here. If there is another pandemic, which I hope to God there's not, you guys already know the stock is probably going to moonshot. So 160%, 180, and then roughly about 240%. Okay, Coinbase and MicroStrategy, I am firmly of the opinion that between Coinbase between Q4 of this year to Q1, Q2 of next year, this thing's going to go up. Probably also throughout the end of the year, with minus the whole sell in May and go away thing. Now, in terms of MicroStrategy, I think MicroStrategy will likely go to new all-time highs sometime within the next 3 months. Just my opinion. So, all right. So we are sitting kind of in the support zone. Again, that's a good area to get in. We have a flip zone here, so resistance flipped now into support, retesting into support, and we're stuck in between the zone and the EMAs. So I have to wait and see what happens with that. But support right now, 145 to 172, resistance 208 to 230, and then the all-time, or not all-time high, but the swing high 287. So there is a lot of upside here. I mean, we're talking anywhere from 37 to 75%. And again, that will likely reflect in the price of Coney. Now, do I think that this is the all-time high for Coinbase this cycle? No. Okay. I think Bitcoin has not hit its true all-time high yet, which means that Coinbase likely has not hit its true all-time high yet. Okay, I could easily see Coinbase going past this previous all-time high here, maybe to like $500 a share. I know, sounds crazy, but again, if Trump wins, he's going to want everything Bitcoin made in the US. That's very bullish for crypto-related companies in the United States. Very bullish. Okay, the prices could go much higher than we expect. Okay, MSTR. We're kind of just ranging here. This is a good setup for potentially doing a wheel strategy. Again, if you don't want to get assigned, you would want to do cash secured puts down here and covered calls up here. If you do want to get assigned, theoretically, you would probably maybe do cash secured puts in the middle of this thing with the intention of it going down, and covered calls in the middle of this thing with the intention of it going up, or covered calls from this area and cash secured puts from this area. If you did want to get assigned, it's entirely up to you. Okay, so support here 105 to 120, resistance 171 to roughly about $200. Again, I do think this thing is also poised to go to new highs. I don't think $200 is the all-time high for this thing. So from support to resistance, roughly about 91%. And this thing has moved up quite a bit in the last few weeks, but even if it just went back to all-time highs, that's another massive 33% gain that will likely be reflected in the price of MSTY. Netflix, this thing is a beast. It just doesn't stop. So what's interesting about this is, and it is something to keep in mind. We do have kind of a bearish divergence here. RSI going down, MACD going down, price going up. It's usually an early reversal indicator, not guaranteed, but early. So in this case, I would say, since we did get a fresh breakout here, I'm not sure how likely it is to play out, but if there is a pullback, I'd be looking for roughly about 560 as the bottom. So 560 to 700 is kind of the zone here. If it gets a pullback, roughly about 29% gain just to get back to the highs. And again, generally speaking, this is a pretty bullish looking chart. Okay, NVIDIA. So this one's interesting. So this is not really bearish divergence. I know the price is going up, generally speaking, but we did kind of have this major capitulation here. Okay, if this was a truly textbook bull trend here, I would say likely this is bearish divergence, but in this case, I don't think it is, because again, we're kind of coiling and chopping here. So, yeah, this is kind of a tough one. I would say somewhere probably between 95 to maybe 105 might be a good buy zone. So somewhere in between the top of this support here and kind of those candle lows, maybe a good buy area. Then you have your all-time high up there at 140. So if I were just to measure from the top of this support zone to the all-time high, roughly about 49%. And as I told you guys before, I do think the likelihood here of $170 NVIDIA, now that I know that the Blackwell chips are going to be sold to these companies, could likely actually happen by the end of the year. Again, we have earnings coming up for NVIDIA, so do keep that in mind. Okay, kind of smashing on through here. Got to keep going. Okay, PayPal, this one actually looks quite bullish. We're still within this resistance zone, but we are above the EMAs. Okay, we got all the golden crosses. That's all good. I can't say for certain this is actually going to become support yet, but I'll just go ahead and say that it is. Okay, we're above the EMAs, so EMAs would kind of be your bottom line here, 65. The top is 83, and then you have roughly about 105 to 125. So just to go from the current price to the swing high up here, 63% move, and from these EMAs to the resistance high, roughly about 85%. I'd say this is overall bullish. I mean, again, we have a golden cross here on the EMAs. We have not seen one of these since basically back here in March of 2020 was the last time we saw one. So that's actually very bullish for the price of PayPal. Okay, so Square, this thing is just chopping around in no man's land, doing absolutely nothing. This is probably one of the ugliest looking charts I've ever seen. So we're within a support and resistance, but we're also now breaking bullish out of a massive downward channel and also another downward channel. So this is pretty weird. Yeah, I'm not really sure about this one. So I'm going to say it's in the middle of no man's land, and support would be down here at 41 to 56, and then 83 to 90 at resistance. Yeah, I don't know about this one. I just DCA in. I would not position trade at this point if it was me. So 115% move. Okay, so Tesla, this one looks extremely bullish. All the EMAs are pointing up. They're very bullish. Price is going up. We're above the EMAs. We got the golden cross on the weekly time frame on the EMAs. Last time we got this was June of last year. So that's all good and fine. We just got to get above this 250-ish area, 250 to about 270, somewhere in there. After that, it's moonshot straight up to this resistance zone, 290 to about 313. Pullback could possibly happen, maybe back down to the support zone because the EMAs are still sitting there, 205 to 215. Again, I don't know how likely that is. Time will tell. So maximum profit here, roughly about 47%. ExxonMobil, kind of just sitting up here at the highs, not really doing much. Again, you guys know my long-term outlook on this. As inflation comes down, as the international conflicts end, supply goes up because gas is cheaper, people can afford to drive around more. This price is likely going to pull back somewhat. Then I'd be looking to buy. So I mean, in terms of the trend, it looks good. It's overall up, and we are kind of pushing against these highs here. Generally speaking, the more you knock on a door, the more likely it is to open. The more you knock, so we're knocking on the upside here. I'd say that's pretty bullish, but again, I'd be waiting for a pullback down to this area, so 84 to 95, and then 115 to about 121. So if it just gets back to the top of that support, it's roughly about a 26% move. Okay, GDX, this thing is moonshotting along with gold. Again, I'm not surprised. Personally, I would not buy right here. I mean, this thing is getting ready to potentially put in a double top. Doesn't mean it can't break out. I just, yeah, I think this thing is pretty overextended, if you ask me. Again, if I go down here and I take a look at the gold chart, you guys can see what I mean here. I mean, this thing is just stupid, okay? And I do trade this almost every day. So you can see it's massively overbought here, and we've actually been overbought twice this year on gold. So I think it is gold, in my opinion, is likely due for a pullback at some point, which means the GDX is likely due for a pullback. So support here, roughly about 31 to 33, 38 to roughly about 42. Again, I'm not bearish on this. I'm kind of short-term bearish, long-term bullish. I'd be waiting for a pullback is kind of how I see this. So roughly about 31%. Airbnb. Yeah, this looks pretty bullish. I mean, we got the potential MACD golden cross, RSI golden cross going on here. Big fat U-turn straight off of support after basing out. That's very bullish. We just got to get above the EMAs. So support here, 115 to roughly about 132. And 170 to 180. And again, you guys got to remember the effects of the rate cuts, okay? As interest rates come down, it becomes cheaper to borrow, which means people can more likely afford to travel and stay at places. So generally speaking, I would say this one is likely to move up more in the coming months. So 85% move here. TSM, this one's very bullish looking. I can't say it's not. MACD is about to get a golden cross. RSI about to get a golden cross. We're V-shaped recovering back up to the all-time highs. So support down here, roughly about 127 to 141. The all-time highs at 193. I'd be waiting for some kind of pullback. If you don't want to wait for a pullback, you could always DCA in, or maybe throw on some cash secured puts as we kind of get closer to this buy zone. So about 38.5% here. All right, Snowflake. Yeah, this thing has just gotten absolutely walloped. So based on that alone, I would say it's pretty bullish. We're getting the curling up of the EMAs too. That's also very bullish. Potential golden crosses going on there. We're basing out at support. Nice possible reversal setup here. So 108 to 119 at support, and 192 to roughly about 238 at resistance. Again, I mean, if I'm being completely honest with y'all, I kind of see this one as an asymmetrical trade. I just really don't think this is going to go any lower. I don't think it's going to happen. It could, but I don't think so. So about 120% move. And again, I mean, if I go back in time here, I'm like zooming out as far as I can. You guys can see that we've only ever been at this level once, and that was during kind of the bear market of 2022. So that says a lot. Okay, Alibaba. This one is, as you guys know, China's turned on the money printers. They're doing QE now, so that is extremely bullish. Again, this thing has absolutely exploded. A lot of the Chinese stock market has exploded actually to the upside, so very bullish looking. I mean, again, this is even potentially early to get in on a swing trade. So yeah, EMA's had the weekly golden cross. You can just take a look at that. See, the last time that happened was all the way back here in August of 2019. So it's been 5 years since we've had one of these golden crosses. That's kind of a big deal. All right, so I'd be looking at the trend line as support, so roughly about 85, and then the 120 to 140 would be the target up there at resistance. So roughly about 64% move. KWeb, which again is another kind of Chinese play here. Nice big fat green candles. That's always good to see. Potential MACD golden cross, RSI golden cross. So yeah, I would say this thing likely is probably very highly likely at this point to go higher. So you can see it's basically a decade-long support. Every time we hit it, we bounced off of it. So target up here, $35. kind of the whole support zone here, 17 to 26. And then, of course, you have your major resistance up here, 70 to roughly about $80. Again, this is absolutely within the realm of possibility to do this. 172% gain. So anyways, hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.